Cartoons from the 90s and 2000s shaped an entire generation. They gave us comfort, color, and a break from reality. Just kidding, they were psychological horror shows dressed like Saturday morning fun. What if I told you the most beloved kids shows were actually about war trauma, mental breakdowns, and purgatory loops? Welcome to the Sugardriphorror channel, the place where childhood nostalgia goes to die. Today we're diving deep into the most disturbing fan theories and hidden horrors behind your favorite childhood cartoons. So if you're ready to have your memories shattered, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and drop your own cursed cartoon theory in the comments. Let's go.
We interrupt this program to bring Courage, the Cowardly Dog Show! Starring Courage, the Cowardly Dog! Creepy stuff happens nowhere. Stupid dog!
Alright, let's start strong. Courage the Cowardly Dog, the pink little dog that Cartoon Network fed to our childhoods like he wasn't straight up trapped in a dusty psychological horror. Let's talk about it. Nowhere isn't just a setting, it's a state of mind. On the surface, it's kind of funny. A squeaky pink dog, living in the middle of absolute nowhere with a sweet old lady and her evil husband. But why are they living in a desolate void that literally looks like the world ended and forgot to tell them? The house is surrounded by nothing. No neighbors, no grocery stores, not even a tree with a bird in it. And that's not just a creepy backdrop. It's intentional. Theory 1. It's all from Courage's POV. What if Courage is just a regular dog? The monsters are just normal people, repairmen, salesmen, local weirdos, but he perceives them as terrifying because he's anxious and scared of everything. Makes sense, right? Dogs bark at the vacuum. Now, give that same energy to an alien squid from another dimension. And if nowhere is a metaphor for isolation, it starts to feel like Courage's mind, a barren, hyper-alert place where danger is always around the corner. Theory 2. Purgatory, baby. Some fans think Muriel and Eustace are actually dead, trapped in a liminal space like purgatory, visited by twisted reflections of who they were in life. Courage is their only line of defense, or maybe their cosmic punishment. The eeriest part, no one ever questions the weirdness. No one calls for help, no one leaves. Let's talk about this little guy's origin story. It's not just cute. Courage was abandoned as a puppy and watched his parents get kidnapped by a vet and launched into outer space. Yes, that is canon. And we were just sitting there with our morning cereal, acting like everything was normal. This isn't just dark, it's trauma symbolism 101. Theory: every monster equals a trauma response. The world is scary because Courage never healed. That alien isn't an alien. It's a corrupt vet in disguise. That monster isn't supernatural. It's just an authority figure. The show becomes a distorted reflection of how real trauma feels through a dog's eyes. And it makes us feel it too, with horror music, creepy pacing, and jarring animation. So many episodes leave you wondering, was that actually a ghost? Or did Courage just overreact again? Episode Freaky Fred. Muriel's cousin is super weird and obsessed with hair. Creepy, yes. Supernatural? No. Episode The Demon in the Mattress. Muriel gets possessed, or maybe just had a terrible nap. Episode King Ramses' Curse. That mummy gave half the 2000s kids nightmares, but it might have been a Courage hallucination. There's no resolution, just eerie vibes. It's unsettling because nothing is fully explained, which mimics what it's like to live with chronic fear. You start seeing monsters in everything because you have to. A lot of villains in Courage are either mad scientists, broken machines, or failed experiments. The theory is nowhere is a test site. Some fans believe that the farmhouse is the final location of a Cold War experiment, and the monsters are failed lab experiments dumped in the desert. Think The Truman Show meets Fallout. The fact that Eustace is always watching TV while Muriel is easily hypnotized only adds fuel to that surveillance theory. Are the family victims of MK Ultra style mind games, or is Courage the only one not fully under control? Family dynamic is a whole other horror show. Let's talk about Muriel and Eustace. Muriel is the soft spot. She's sweet, gentle, and loving, but she's also passive. She never really sees what Courage is going through. Eustace is a full-time menace, emotionally abusive, uses literal scare tactics like the mask. I hate that. Some fans say he represents all of Courage's past abusers in one person, a walking trauma trigger, unchanging and cruel. Together, they're a twisted stand-in for neglectful family dynamics, where the victim is caught between love and harm with no way out. Subliminal messages? Let's talk about this one. Let's get tinfoil hat for a second. Some fans think Courage wasn't just a cartoon, it was a warning. The show is loaded with cryptic audio, reversed speech, and actual demonic chanting. Seriously, go rewatch King Ramses' Curse and tell me that it's kid-friendly. The theory is it's broadcast interference. One of the darker theories, Courage was part of a real subliminal messaging test, like MKUltra, but through children's media. It's a wild conspiracy, but if any cartoon was gonna pull it off, it was this one. The animation itself is a jump scare. This show had no business being this aesthetically unsettling. It mixed 2D animation, claymation, early CGI, that mummy, and live action overlays. The result? A constant feeling of something is wrong, known as the uncanny valley, where your brain says, this isn't normal and I don't know why. It's not just weird, it's psychologically disturbing. Some nightmare fuel episodes we're still recovering from. Some episodes genuinely should have come with a trigger warning. Let's review a few iconic ones. King Ramses' Curse, of course. The mummy, the voice, the looping, if you know, you know. The Mask, themes of abuse and recovery hidden behind a porcelain face and an emotionally gutting storyline. Perfect. A floating teacher relentlessly tells Courage he's a failure. Mental health representation, but like too real. The Tara of Dr. Zalost, a depressed scientist who launches sadness across the world. This wasn't even a metaphor. It was a full-on breakdown in cartoon form. Every monster is a fear. Every villain, every bizarre character, they symbolize something. Rejection, loss, aging, abuse, grief, control, loneliness. Courage is scared of everything, but he fights anyway, not for himself, but for Muriel. And honestly, that's one of the most beautiful, haunting metaphors in cartoon history. One final theory to wrap up the Courage the Cowardly Dog segment in this video is my personal favorite theory. Some fans believe that Courage represents Cerberus, the mythological three-headed dog who guards the gates of the underworld. His main role was to prevent the souls of the dead from ever escaping back to the world of the living. Loyal, terrifying, and powerful, Cerberus stood as the ultimate guardian between life and death. So why this fits, right? Courage's job is to protect his elderly owners, Muriel and Eustace, from constant external threats, often supernatural, paranormal, and death-themed. Nowhere, Kansas is isolated, barren, and surreal, almost like a liminal space, fitting the idea of being a threshold between the living world and the afterlife. Many of the monsters in the show aren't pure evil, they're often like lost souls, cursed beings, or entities needing help, very much like spirits stuck between worlds. Muriel and Eustace themselves are often portrayed as fragile and close to death, and Courage is desperately trying to keep them alive. Courage acts like a psychopomp, a creature whose job is to protect souls, delay death, or guide spirits safely. Cerberus, guard dog of the dead. Courage, guard dog of the almost dead. Now on to a show that tricked us into thinking it was harmless slapstick when it might actually be a suburban afterlife loop with demonic cheerleaders. Let's talk about Edd, Edd, and Eddy. This show seems silly. Just three weird boys scamming their cul-de-sac neighbors for jawbreakers. Goofy voices, janky animation, and cartoon violence. Innocent fun, right? Wrong. It's always the cul-de-sac. They never grow up. There are no adults. And every day is just the same. The purgatory theory, limbo in plain sight. Let's get into the deepest fan theory of them all. This one is infamous in creepypasta circles. Everyone's dead. The cul-de-sac, limbo. Each kid from a different time period. The scams, the chaos, the repetition, a punishment loop. It's giving Dante's Inferno cartoon edition, and no one told us. Every kid in the cul-de-sac seems off, like they're cosplaying a decade that doesn't match the show's era. Here's the spooky breakdown. Rolf is from time period early 1900s. He talks like a European immigrant, references the old country, and raises livestock in suburbia. Johnny's alleged time period is between the 1930s and 1940s. He has an imaginary wooden friend, Plank, suggesting isolation, or worse, a child coping with death. Eddy, 1950s to 60s, obsessive with money, wears greaser-style clothes, always chasing a hustle. Naz is from the 1970s, a literal flower child energy, flirty, chill, glows with peace and love. Kevin is from the 90s, classic jock rebel, the bike, slang like dork, always angry. The Edds, timeless, I guess? They don't quite belong. They feel other, more self-aware, suspiciously different from the rest. So what's the deal? Are they all trapped together from different timelines? Forced to coexist in an endless loop? Dead-end cul-de-sac is the literal dead end. No one leaves, no one changes, there's no school, no adults, no growth. They don't even age. It's like they're stuck. A place between life and death. Childhood and afterlife. The cul-de-sac is purgatory. Time exists, but nothing ever moves forward. Just seasonal shifts and repeat scams. The symbolism? A cul-de-sac is a loop, a trap, a neighborhood with no way out. Where are the parents? Literally never seen except for a shadowy silhouette in the movie. They're mentioned, but never present. Classic horror move. The theory is the kids are emotionally orphaned, either neglected in life or passed away young. Their eternity, playing out whatever version of childhood they couldn't let go of. Another theory is that Plank isn't just wood, he's a warning. Johnny's bestie is literally a plank of wood with a face drawn on, but the way he talks to Plank, with full emotional investment, is deeply unnerving. The theory is that Plank represents isolation, or even Johnny's gravestone, and his delusion is the only thing keeping him grounded. Johnny might be the loneliest of them all. Let's talk about the Kanker sisters. Lee, Marie, and May Kanker, red flags with legs. They're the only characters who freely come and go. Everyone else is trapped. They show up suddenly, cause chaos, and disappear just as fast, usually to smother or capture the Edds in unwanted attention. The theory is that the Kanker sisters are succubi or furies, mythological tormentors assigned to punish the Edds for their sins. Each sister belongs to an Edd. They're territorial, all-knowing, a little too into punishment. Let's just say, if this is limbo, the Kankers are the fire that keeps it warm. Let's talk about Eddy, the schemer who never learns. Eddy is obsessed with money, always dreaming of the next con, the next scam, but his schemes always fail. The theory is that Eddy's fatal flaw in life was greed, and he died chasing a quick buck. Maybe a scam went wrong. Maybe he never made it out of a bad home. His eternal punishment? Always trying to succeed, but never quite getting there. The Jawbreakers could be his personal symbol of desire, the thing he wanted most in life but could never have. Success, control, approval, we'll never know. Now Double D, Edd, the one who knows, soft-spoken, obsessively clean, kind, rational, anxious. He wears a beanie that never comes off, ever, and he seems just a little too aware of how strange everything is. The theory is that Edd knows they're dead. Some say he died in a lab accident, a gifted kid lost too soon. Now he tries to maintain order in a world that makes no sense. His anxiousness isn't random. It's existential. Now Edd, the blissfully unbothered zombie. Edd loves horror movies, candies, and chickens. He's goofy, slow, and honestly, kind of peaceful in his own weird way. The theory is Edd's past was dark. Maybe neglect, maybe illness. Whatever it was, he's now stuck in a permanent state of innocent detachment. He doesn't want to understand. He just wants to laugh and chase chickens. Honestly, mood. The Lost Episode Conspiracy. This one's straight up creepypasta core, and we're going there. A supposed lost episode was allegedly leaked online. It showed the cul-de-sac in ruins. Every kid was blank, white eyes, the animation was shaky and distorted, and the voice acting? Just screams and static. Whether it's real or not, it fed the theory hard, and fans still whisper about this. Let's talk about the movie, Edd, Edd and Eddy's Big Picture Show, the finale movie, and it broke all the show's rules. The Edds leave the cul-de-sac. They meet Eddy's older brother, who turns out to be violent and abusive. The entire cast rallies together against him, and for the first time, the Edds are accepted. Some fans believe this was their final trial in purgatory, and once Eddy faced his greatest fear, they were finally freed. Edd, Edd and Eddy was never just about scams and sugar highs. It's a loop of limbo, a meditation on childhood trauma, and a place where kids are trapped forever, punished for sins they may not even remember. They chase jawbreakers, avoid the Kankers, and repeat their cycles endlessly. No parents, no growth, no end. And we watched it every afternoon like it was just another cartoon. So let's just casually move on to a show where two kids enslave Death and emotionally break him for 7 seasons straight. Totally normal childhood content. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. The premise: limbo lawyers in training. Billy and Mandy aren't your average cartoon besties. They win a limbo match against the Grim Reaper. Yes, literally the embodiment of death, and force him into external servitude because of a dying hamster. That's not just dark, that's spiritually alarming. Imagine being 10 and legally binding death to friendship because of a technicality. And that's just episode 1. Mandy is not just a snarky goth girl. She might be a full-on demon in a human skin suit. Let's check the evidence. She never smiles, and when she does, the universe implodes. Canon, not a joke. Grim, Death himself, is terrified of her. She shows no fear, no emotion, no empathy. She stares into the abyss and makes it blink first. She's a vibe. The theory is, Mandy is either Satan's daughter, an eldritch being, or a sentient black hole in pigtails. Her entire existence screams cosmic punishment. She might actually be the villain of the entire series, not because she's evil, but because she transcends morality, which is honestly way scarier. Let's talk about symbolism. Let's break down the core trio. Grim represents death, the literal reaper, powerless, mocked, chained to chaos. Billy represents ignorance, pure joy and stupidity, unbothered, never processes fear. Mandy represents control, nihilism, utterly calculated, uses logic as a weapon, fearless, godless, powerful. The interpretation? It's how people deal with morality. Laugh at it, Billy. Control it, Mandy. Be consumed by it, Grim. And suddenly this show feels like an intro philosophy course in a haunted house. The cosmic horror lore goes so hard. This didn't just dip into horror, it dove in face first and pulled us along. It gave us dimension hopping, eldritch creatures older than time, sentient meteors, toxic love stories featuring skeletons. It's like Lovecraft wrote for Looney Tunes and got away with it. Death is a joke. Grim, the Grim Reaper, gets constantly clowned. He's bullied, dragged, dressed up, and used as a taxi service. The theory is the show deconstructs death by reducing it to comedy. It makes death less scary by making it pathetic. The universe is a simulation or a nightmare. The laws of physics don't apply. Characters teleport, mutate, or die and come back constantly. It's giving post-apocalyptic dreamscape where only the emotionally stunted children survived. Nightmare episodes that still live in our heads. This show went there, over and over again. Here are just a few moments that are still haunting. Little Rock of Horrors, Billy is seduced by a brain-eating singing meteor. Attack of the Clowns. His clown phobia turns into a literal nightmare war zone. Spider's Little Daddy. Grim finds out he's the deadbeat dad of a giant spider. Jacked Up Halloween. A pumpkin-headed immortal gets cursed to relive Halloween forever. Grim in Love. Grim dates a skeleton girl who manipulates him emotionally. Even death gets used. This wasn't haha spooky fun. This was trauma with punchlines. Mandy is always in control. Mandy's real power isn't magic, it's domination. She controls the plot, the tone, the cosmic balance of the universe, apparently. No one, not Grim, not Billy, not the literal creatures of hell can overpower her. Her presence bends the world to her will. The theory is, Mandy isn't human, she's fate. Or entropy. Or the showrunner. Whatever she is, she reminds you there's no safety, no logic, and no escape. The overreaching theme? Everything is pointless and weird, so just laugh. Billy? Chaos is fun. Mandy? Chaos is inevitable, and I control it. Grim? I'm stuck in a hell I didn't create. The theory is the show is a cartoon version of existentialism for children. It looks you in the eye and says, life is absurd, death is annoying, love is gross, you still have to get out of bed. Let's talk about some quotes that feel just too real. Let's look at a few lines that hit different when you're not 10 anymore. There's no such thing as fate, only choices. Grim. Sometimes I wonder why I even get out of bed. Then I remember I'm better than everyone else. Mandy. Icon. I'm gonna eat this worm I find in my nose. Billy. These quotes sum up the entire show in 3 terrifying moods. Intellectual despair, sociopathic confidence, worm. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is a masterclass in psychological horror disguised as comedy, dark philosophical themes smuggled into Saturday mornings, and a breakdown of death, power, childhood, and emotional chaos. It's hilarious and it's terrifying. It's childish and brilliant. It's kind of perfect. And we loved it. So, there was a time Nickelodeon gave a full TV series to a horror comic creator and just said, go nuts. And he did. Welcome to the unhinged, rotting masterpiece that is Invader Zim. The plot, or the lie? Zim is a soldier from the Urkin Empire, a hyper-militarized alien race obsessed with power and height. Yes, height. After ruining a major invasion by accidentally destroying part of his own planet, he's assigned a secret mission to conquer Earth. Plot twist. The mission is fake. His leaders literally just wanted him gone. Zim is sent to Earth because no one takes him seriously. Not even his own species. The theory is that Zim isn't a soldier, he's a cosmic joke. A cautionary tale about what happens when you believe your own delusions. He thinks he's here to dominate the planet, but no one is watching, and no one cares. Paranoia isn't a bug, it's the whole system. Zim is paranoid. Dib is paranoid. Gur is chaotic, and probably also paranoid. And the wild part? They're all right to be. Earth is full of secret labs, shadow governments, and surveillance tech. Dib is constantly called crazy, but he's the only one who sees the truth. Zim is being watched by his own creators. Gur is malfunctioning and possibly sentient. Everyone's spying on everyone else. The theory is the show mirrors post-9/11 paranoia, where everyone is suspicious and no one is safe, not even from their own minds. Let's talk about body horror. This show didn't just push boundaries, it vivisected them on screen. Exhibit A, the Dark Harvest. Zim steals organs from other students so he can pass a human health inspection. He literally stuffs himself with livers, hearts, intestines, and too many eyeballs. His body bloats and oozes. It's so grotesque, it was banned in multiple countries. And it wasn't a one-off. Alien tech turns people into blobs. Disguises melt off like candle wax. Characters are regularly dismembered, mutated, or unzipped. Let's talk about Gur, the chaotic neutral icon. Gur is Zim's robot assistant. He's made from literal trash. He wears a dog suit. He sings about tacos. He once said, "I made mashed potatoes," while standing in an explosion. And yet, sometimes he turns into this. Red glowing eyes, voice distortion, monster strength, reality-breaking energy. The theory is Gur might be fully sentient, but he plays dumb as a defense mechanism, like he knows the whole cosmic joke and is leaning into the chaos. Which is honestly the most relatable energy in this show. Let's talk about Dib, the actual protagonist. Dib is the kid trying to expose Zim. He's mocked, bullied, and ignored, despite the fact that he's literally right about everything. He sees what others can't. He's deeply depressed. His dad doesn't listen. The world gaslights him at every turn. The theory is that Dib is the whistleblower archetype, the truth teller nobody believes. He's not a hero, he's not a villain. He's the only sane person in a world that refuses to see itself clearly, which makes him tragic. Now Zim, a fallen star child. Zim wants power, respect, recognition, but he's small, defective, emotionally volatile, obsessed with an empire that doesn't want him. His leaders, the tallest, are obsessed with height, cruelty, and control. Zim is none of those things. He's delusional, a possible genetic mistake, and completely disposable to his creators. The theory is that Zim is a metaphor for broken systems. He believes in a cause that doesn't believe in him. He's fighting a war that isn't real. He's screaming into a void, and the void is laughing at him. The cosmic nihilism is real. The Urkin Empire doesn't conquer planets for resources, they do it for fun. There's no morality, no higher purpose, no redemption arc. Zim is a product of this meaningless system, and so is Earth. Everyone's just vibing through space, hurting each other for no reason. The theory is that Invader Zim is a love letter to absurdism. There's no destiny, no master plan, just chaos, failure, and irony. It's beautiful and horrifying. Episodes that traumatized an entire generation. Let's run through some of the worst and best. Dark Harvest, the organ theft body horror episode, scarred everyone. Zim Eats Waffles, a horror show disguised as surveillance comedy. It's all stillness, pure dread. Gaz, Taster of Pork. She's trapped in a virtual reality forever. Game Slave 2. Gaz goes feral in a mall over a video game. Gur dances through the chaos. Nickelodeon really let this air at 4 p.m. Bold. The episode's too dark to live. Nickelodeon eventually did say no more to several episodes. Here are the creepiest cancelled ones. The Trial. Zim is judged, executed, and turned to ashes. Gur talks to the ashes. Mopiness of Doom. Dib becomes so depressed, he quits paranormal research. Nothing funny, just sad. Nubs of Doom. Zim makes mini versions of himself who rebel. It was cut for being existentially upsetting, which, fair. Let's talk about some creator lore. Zim's creator was Jonan Vasquez, known for horror comics like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Yes, that guy. His comics were full of gore, isolation, anti-human rage, and surrealism. Nickelodeon handed him a kids show and said, tone it down. And he barely did. He's openly admitted he snuck in as much darkness as he possibly could, and was shocked by how much they let slide. Invader Zim wasn't just quirky, it was a cosmic horror comedy. A meditation on failure, identity, and delusion. An exploration of mental illness, AI chaos, and meaningless power structures. It looked like Hot Topic made a cartoon. It felt like the end of the world. And it aired during after-school hours. This show told kids, you might be being lied to, reality might be fake, waffles won't save you, but hey, scream into the void anyways. You ever rewatch a show as an adult and go, wait, was this adorable baby show actually a slow descent into psychological horror masked as a diaper commercial? Let's talk about Rugrats. At first glance, Rugrats is the cutest setup ever. A group of toddlers, Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, Dill, and Angelica, going on imaginary adventures while the adults are just floundering. The animation is bouncy, the colors are soft, and the theme song is pure childhood. But lurking underneath that soft baby giggle core is something seriously off. Let's talk about the Angelica theory. If you were on Tumblr, Reddit, or anywhere cursed on the internet in the 2010s, you've probably heard about this theory. All the babies are dead, and Angelica made them up. It's a theory that lives rent-free in our collective psyche because honestly, it kind of fits a little too well. Let's break it down. Let's talk about each character, their supposed fate, and the symbolic meaning behind it. Tommy was a stillborn. Stu builds toys alone in his basement for a child who never lived. Chucky died with his mother. His dad, Chas, is an anxious wreck and he can't let go. Phil and Lil miscarried. The DeVilles didn't know the sex of the baby, so Angelica imagined both. Dill, the only real baby, cries constantly, can't play along because Angelica can't control him. Angelica is said to be a neglected child, creating an entire friend group out of grief, loneliness, and a desperate need for control. If that doesn't punch you right in the childhood, I don't know what will. Angelica's canon home life? Not great. Her mum is emotionally absent, obsessed with work and image. Her dad spoils her with gifts, not love. She's constantly alone or bossing the babies around, like she's trying to build a world where she has power. Psych theory, Angelica's behavior is a coping mechanism. Her friends are safe, silent projections that she can dominate. They'll never abandon her because they're not real. Let's talk about some moments that make this theory worse, or more true, or something. Stu's basement spiral. He's always building toys for no one. He looks exhausted, talks to himself. If Tommy never existed, is this Stu trying to cope through delusion and distraction? Chucky's mum reveal. We don't learn about her until season 4, and when we do, it's devastating. The Mother's Day episode reads like a grief film disguised as animation. The tone shift is so real. Dill doesn't belong. Introduced in the Rugrats movie, Dill doesn't behave like the others. He's fussy and wild, can't communicate. The theory around that is that he's the only real baby, and that's why Angelica can't control him, and it drives her over the edge. Let's talk about some lesser known theories that live on the walls. The babies represent psychological archetypes. Each one could symbolize a developmental trauma or disorder. Tommy, rebellion, risk-taking, leadership. Chucky, anxiety, grief, and panic. Phil and Lil, duality and identity confusion. Dill, emotionally overwhelmed, possible ASD traits. A similar theory to everyone being dead, I guess, is that Angelica isn't in the show, she runs it. She doesn't just interact, she directs. Every plot revolves around her control, every baby exists within her mood swings. The theory is essentially that Angelica is the puppeteer of this pastel purgatory. She's not playing, she's writing a script. Let's talk about a few episodes that went way too hard. As I mentioned before, Mother's Day with Chucky's mum, enough said. Angelica's worst nightmare. She dreams she's replaced by a better child and spirals into existential dread. The first cut, a cut finger, turns into body horror panic. Episode I Remember Melville. The babies mourn a pet's death. It's slow, sad, and uncomfortably real. Episode Grandpa's Teeth. Aging and morality via dental nightmare. Honestly, still spooky. Let's talk about All Grown Up. The aftermath? In the spin-off series, we see the babies as teens, but something is off. Angelica is still manipulative, insecure, and power-hungry. Dill is strange. He zones out, speaks cryptically, seems detached from reality. Chucky is riddled with anxiety and trust issues. Tommy is distant, creative, and weirdly nihilistic for a teen cartoon hero. The theory is that All Grown Up is what happens after the imagination ends. The trauma is still there, just wearing new clothes. Rugrats might have looked like a silly cartoon about babies having fun, but dig just beneath the surface and you get a child projecting imaginary friends to cope with grief, adults haunted by unresolved trauma, a show that dips into the themes of death, abandonment, mental illness, and childhood existentialism, all under the sound of rattles and baby giggles. It's cute, it's tragic, it's deeply cursed. So imagine this. You're vibing to soft jazz in your grandma's boarding house. You help your neighbors find emotional healing, and also, everyone around you is low-key broken. Welcome to Hey Arnold, the cozy cartoon that taught us more about pain, poverty, and healing than therapy ever did. On the surface, it's city life and kindness goals. Arnold is a chill, football-headed king living in a sunset-toned city raised by his quirky grandparents at the Sunset Arms boarding house. He's surrounded by tenants, friends, and strangers, each episode playing like a gentle fable of city soul and childhood wisdom. But underneath that lo-fi aesthetic and easygoing jazz score, pain. Beautifully disguised pain. The dark character lore you weren't ready for. Let's crack open some of the most iconic and devastating character theories and truths baked into the show's DNA. Helga's mum, the functioning alcoholic theory. Miriam Pataki isn't just tired, she's checked out. She's constantly resting her eyes on the couch. She slurs her speech. She's obsessive about smoothies that seem a little too adult. She's absent emotionally, present in body only. The theory is she's an alcoholic numbing the pain of a failing marriage and unresolved trauma from her own parents. Her husband, Big Bob, is emotionally neglectful and obsessed with his beeper empire, which is a metaphor in itself. Helga's obsessive, angry, chaotic crush on Arnold? Yeah, that's what happens when a kid gets zero unconditional love at home and clings to the only person who's ever shown her kindness. Pigeon Man, depression and possible self-exit allegory. The episode starts off light. Arnold meets a gentle rooftop recluse who cares for pigeons after being rejected by society. Arnold gives him hope, but when kids destroy his sanctuary, the man straps himself to a bird-powered harness and flies off into the sunset. The theory is it's a metaphor for self-exit, him choosing to ascend after one last act of human cruelty. The rumored original script had him jumping off the roof instead. Nickelodeon said, let's dial it back, but we still felt that ending in our entire souls. Arnold's grandparents. Are they secret parents? Phil and Gertie are quirky, loving, and definitely old. They raised Arnold because his real parents, Miles and Stella, disappeared on a humanitarian trip. But for years we didn't see them, and the stories felt too perfect. The theory is that Phil and Gertie are actually his parents, not his grandparents. The San Lorenzo story is a cover-up, whether to hide old age, illness, or the pain of loss. While the Jungle movie, released in 2017, revealed the truth that his parents were alive but ill, the original series left this question open, haunted, and vague for a very long time. Stoop Kid, abandonment, and agoraphobia. Stoop Kid's afraid to leave his stoop. The joke that defined an episode, but it wasn't just a punchline. The theory is the Stoop Kid was left behind, either literally abandoned or raised in isolation. The stoop became his safety zone, his prison and protection. The episode ends with him finding courage, but that trauma, still sitting on the step. Mr. Hewen, a Vietnam War refugee. One of the most emotionally stunning episodes is Arnold's Christmas. Mr. Hewen tells the story of handing his baby daughter to a US soldier during the fall of Saigon so she could escape safely. Arnold spends Christmas finding her, now grown, and reunites them. Real life war trauma on a kid's show, and it hits so hard. No metaphor, no theory, just emotional wreckage wrapped in tinsel. Brainy, Helga's living conscience, always behind her, always breathing weird, always getting punched out and still coming back. The theory is that Brainy is not real. He's a manifestation of Helga's guilt, conscience, or obsession. He appears at moments of emotional tension and disappears after being struck, like a waking dream. The Boarding House, Sanctuary for the Forgotten. Sunset Arms is more than quirky, it's a microcosm of the forgotten, broken, and displaced. Oscar is manipulative and unemployed. Mr. Smith is secretive and lonely. Grandma, possibly neurodivergent or mentally ill. And others are immigrants, elderly, eccentric, or invisible to society. The theory is that the boarding house is a safe haven for society's misfits, and Arnold is the thread that ties them together. His kindness isn't just a personality trait, it's his purpose. The show's ongoing themes: gentle horror. Without jump scares or monsters, Hey Arnold gave us the horror of being human, featuring poverty, as most kids come from working class homes or worse, abuse and neglect. Helga, Oscar, and even Arnold carry emotional wounds, mental health from anxiety to dissociation to generational trauma, loneliness. It's in every alley, every window, every jazz loop. The show didn't need horror music. The silence between scenes carried the weight. Let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about Hey Arnold, the Jungle movie, the closure arc. In 2017, fans finally got closure. Arnold's parents are found alive, sick, and stuck in the jungle. It answered questions, but it didn't erase the sadness that defined the series. And honestly, that's kind of perfect, because Hey Arnold was never about solving trauma. It was about surviving it with compassion. Hey Arnold wasn't just a cute city show. It was a quiet masterpiece about healing, addiction, abandonment, refugee trauma, childhood neglect, agoraphobia, mental illness, and empathy. Sweet, patient empathy. It gave us hope without lying. It gave us kindness without fixing everything. It told us you don't need to be perfect to be good. And that's the kind of haunted we're grateful for. Picture this. You're a kind little wallaby, just trying to survive the American dream. But the dream is melting. Your dog's in love with a mop, and your boss is a talking toad who literally owns your soul. Welcome to Rocko's Modern Life, the kids show that told us adulthood is a trap, and we still said, more please. On the surface, it's just a wallaby in a societal meltdown. Rocko moves from Australia to O-Town for a chill life, but instead walks into a surreal capitalist nightmare where your friends are deranged, the dog might spontaneously combust, and your everyday errands feels like boss levels in a horror game. He lives with Spunky, a neurotic dog who licks literally anything and may be immortal. Heifer is best friend raised by wolves who tried to eat him once. And Filbert, an anxious turtle who says, "I'm nauseous," like it's a prayer. It feels funny, but it's secretly about the slow decay of the human psyche in a consumer hellscape. Some canon moments that should have gotten somebody fired. Rocko, phone sex worker? In the episode Canned, Rocko gets a job at a hotline. And no, he's not reading a romance novel. He's working a literal phone sex line on Nickelodeon. For kids. In the 90s. He gets fired for accidentally being too wholesome because he's actually just offering customer service. Gross Out Glory, the show's bodily horror obsession. This show made disgust an art form. There was close-ups of boogers, pimples, and warts, talking tapeworms, butts, so many butts. Spunky falls in love with a mop and licks it into decay. The theory is the hyperfocus on decay is symbolic, a rejection of the polished, sterile perfectionism of consumer culture. Basically, if society is fake, Rocko's here to ooze all over it. Let's talk about Conglommo. Conglommo is the corporation that runs literally everything. Their slogan is, "We own you." Not "we love you," not "we care," just ownership. Period. O-Town is a nightmare of debt collectors, public service mascots having breakdowns, endless dehumanizing paperwork, products that will attack you, billboards that scream at you, and ads that gaslight you. The theory is that the show is a warning. Late-stage capitalism is already here, and we've just accepted it because it comes with coupons and a laugh track. Is Rocko okay? Probably not. Every episode is Rocko trying to do one simple thing. Mail a letter, go to the beach, clean his house, and being absolutely wrecked by society in the process. Reality bends, characters change, logic dissolves. The theory is that Rocko is experiencing a nervous breakdown in real time. O-Town isn't real, it's a distorted projection of cultural anxiety filtered through one very anxious wallaby's brain. He's displaced, right? He's an Australian in a hyper-American world. He's overstimulated, and he's dissociating hard. Let's talk about some existential dread in character format. Let's break down the emotional wreckage disguised as Rocko's friend group. Filbert is basically anxiety on legs. He's a germaphobe, he's a hypochondriac, he hides from the world and constantly says, "I'm nauseous," like it's his love language. Filbert is the ultimate modern anxiety avatar. Emotionally fragile, overstimulated, and just trying to survive a system that doesn't care, and I couldn't relate more. Heifer is the empty consumer. Adopted by wolves, literally fattened to be eaten, spends his life chasing pleasure, such as TV, junk food, chaos, oblivious to his trauma. Heifer's deal? Numb hedonism. It's what happens when you replace love with fast food and call it coping. Mr. Bighead is the bitter adult. He hates Rocko, he hates himself, hates everything. Still serves Conglommo like a good little cog. He's capitalism's most loyal victim, hollowed out, joyless, and still clocking in on time. Let's talk about some episodes that went full dissociative nightmare. Let's take a moment for the episodes that had no business being this deep. Wacky Deadly, a satire on media consumption. The dumber the show, the more people love it. Ends with everyone, brain dead, watching nonsense on loop. YouTube before YouTube. Reality TV before reality TV. I Have No Son. Mr. Bighead disowns his son for being an animator. This explores toxic masculinity, artistic rejection, and generational trauma. A cartoon about not being loved for who you are. Trasho Madness. Rocko has to take out the trash and ends up in a bureaucratic horror spiral of physical and mental filth. It's a metaphor for modern life suffocating you under responsibility. Taking out the trash equals surviving society. And we have a bonus theory. It's all a glitched simulation. The art is warped, the colors are disorienting, the dialogue is dreamlike, and logic is constantly breaking. The theory is, Ochine is a simulation gone wrong. The characters are trapped in an infinite consumer loop, glitching their way through meaningless tasks and horrifying interactions, like Black Mirror, the cartoon. Adulting is a nightmare, and Rocko warned us. Rocko's modern life was gross, surreal, philosophical, inappropriate in the best way, and terrifyingly accurate. It showed us that adulthood is chaotic, society is broken, capitalism will eat your soul and charge you rent, and somehow we laughed through it because Rocko did too. What if your childhood was animated by a fever dream, scored by screams, and directed by a man on a full mental break? That's Ren and Stimpy, a cartoon so messed up it basically dared Nickelodeon to say cancel it, and they eventually did. On the surface, it's slapstick with a mental breakdown sort of twist. On paper, it's simple. Ren is a chihuahua, Stimpy is a cat. They live together, they go on zany adventures. There is lots of yelling and farting and screaming. But once you look past the Looney Tunes energy, you realize something's deeply wrong. Like screaming into a pillow wrong. Because underneath the comedy, it's about psychosis, body horror, codependency, and probably a nervous breakdown or two. The animation is trauma in HD. Ren and Stimpy invented the close-up horror shot. Every episode was boiling eyeballs, leaking teeth, melting flesh, acne craters so realistic they deserve their own insurance code. They switched from bouncy slapstick to hyper-detailed gore art faster than you can say, this is aired on Nickelodeon. And the body horror wasn't just visual, it was thematic. It was fear of the flesh, fear of decay, fear of being alive in a body you can't control. This wasn't comedy. It was a panic attack in pastel. But it was funny. Let's talk about Ren, the star of this spiral. He's not just irritated, he's unhinged. He threatens murder, he strangles Stimpy with visible glee, he goes into twitchy fugue states, he screams, then whispers, then stares into nothing. The theory is that Ren is a walking case study in mental illness, likely schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or intermittent explosive disorder. He hallucinates, he self-narrates, he cycles through manic joy and then murderous rage, and he seems aware of his disconnection from reality. He's not a cartoon villain, he's a man at the edge of a full collapse, and Nickelodeon played it for laughs. Stimpy, by contrast, is weirdly stable in that baby-voiced, TV-addicted, possibly imaginary way. He never fights back, he never changes, and he often acts like Ren's abusive outbursts never happened. The theory is that Stimpy is either Ren's codependent caretaker or Ren's hallucination. The only one who stays, the only one who loves him, the only one who makes things better. Which is dark, like codependent substance abuse metaphor dark. Let's talk about some banned episodes that broke Nickelodeon. This show got so wild. It became the first cartoon to get pulled for being too disturbing. Let's talk about the episodes that should have come with trauma warnings. Man's best friend. Ren beats a man with a paddle in slow motion. The sound design, disturbingly realistic. The visuals, grotesque. Nickelodeon pulled the episode before it aired, and it wasn't seen again until 2003. It also featured disturbing dominance themes between owner and pet. The vibes were not okay. Stimpy's invention ends with Stimpy forcing Ren to wear a happy helmet, a literal mind-controlled device. The theory is that this was a metaphor for chemical lobotomies used in real history to treat mental illness. It's haunting, it's tragic, and it's considered one of the best episodes because of how viscerally uncomfortable it makes you. Ren's pecs. So Ren gets implants, muscles, and he becomes grotesque. It's a literal satire on body dysmorphia, delivered through flexing, screaming, and visual pain. Ren's obsession with changing himself becomes a metaphor for how media warps self-image. Let's talk about the dynamic: addiction and codependency. Their relationship isn't odd couple comedy, it's deeply toxic. Ren represents the addict, volatile, desperate, self-loathing. Stimpy represents the codependent, enabling, naive, and lost in the fantasy. Together, they oscillate between abuse and affection, enable each other's worst tendencies. They normalize trauma like it's just part of the bit. The theory is that their bond is a metaphor for substance abuse relationships, the kind where love and destruction are the same thing. Their home is a mess, their emotions are louder than the soundtrack, and their humor is masking a shared descent into madness. Let's talk about the creator. Also a nightmare. John Kricfalusi, or John K., the showrunner, was a talented animator with a reputation for pushing limits, and then some. Nickelodeon eventually fired him for creative disputes, missing deadlines, and far more serious misconduct allegations that came to light years later. When he returned for the Adult Party cartoon reboot on Spike TV, it completely went off the rails. There was full nudity, abuse, sexual innuendo bordering on assault. Episodes were so disturbing, they're still hard to find today. The darkness in Ren and Stimpy wasn't just a style, it came from a very real place, and it showed. Some of the themes that we never realized we were absorbing were mental illness, and it shows up as Ren spirals, hallucinations, and instability. We also see body horror. It shows up as close-ups, transformations, oozing, melting flesh. We also see codependency, and it's represented by their entire relationship dynamic. There's fear of the body, with obsession with deformity, physical pain, and grotesque imagery. There's surrealism, dream logic, reality breaks, nonsensical timelines. And we see loneliness. It shows up as characters being isolated, emotionally and often physically. Ren and Stimpy was a grotesque horror show disguised as slapstick. A psychological meltdown with a theme song. A warning sign that we all laughed at until we realized it hit too close to home. It wasn't just edgy, it was trauma in a can of powdered toast. This cartoon didn't go too far. It went exactly as far as it needed to show what happens when society, relationships, and sanity start to rot from the inside. And somehow we watched this before dinner. Okay, so that was only half the chaos. We covered haunted dogs, pocket purgatories, demon children, and aliens filled with organs. And that's just the beginning. Part 2 of this deep dive is coming very soon, and trust me, it gets even darker. In the meantime, I'm dropping daily mini episodes right here on the channel, quick hits of cursed cartoon energy you can binge in under 10 minutes. So make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single meltdown. Comment below with the theory that ruined your childhood the most, or tell me which show you want me to dissect next. And of course, follow me on the socials for behind the scenes chaos, updates, bonus weirdness. All the links are in the description. Thanks for watching and spiraling with me. Until next time, stay weird and stay watching.